One might say of reality, at first, that something is real if I can see it with my own eyes, or touch it with my own hands, or hear it, or smell it, or taste of it for myself. Do you feel such a claim does service to the human experience? Consider, for example, the massive resources required to believe the majority of what we consider common scientific knowledge without faith. What proof does the average person have that the earth is round, that germs cause disease, or even that the country of Uganda exists? If we take this a step further and realize that the value of paper currency, or even gold, is based upon the faith that other people value it, rather than some kind of inherent utility or worth, then it is easy to see that faith, or the belief in something that we cannot objectively prove by the means of our senses, is a prerequisite for membership in any community, no matter how secular. One cannot put mathematics into a jar either, and in this manner we can see that almost the entirety of the human experience is based upon things that are not real, and yet these paranormal things have real effects upon the world we inhabit. So then, we can together accept the reality of something supernatural, something which is in our minds, which affects the world profoundly, even though it does not exist within the natural confines of space and time. And if we accept this and move a step further, we can look at other things which are not real. We can see that the stories we tell or consume in the media, or read of in books, are real as well, or at least as real as we allow them to be. The worth of a story or any work of fiction is not in how well a story enables us to use magic in order to wash the dishes more efficiently, but in how many copies the book is able to sell, or how it is able to influence the masses in the ways in which they think, or provide valuable lessons, or escapism. Gamma amino butyric acid, or Gaba, is a chemical currently being researched by scientists because it is believed that this neurotransmitter is responsible for helping patients have control over their thoughts. Indeed, could you imagine not being able to consciously control your own thoughts? That would be akin to not even being conscious at all. Modern science increasingly seems to suggest that our consciousness is the complex amalgamation of neurotransmitters like Gaba, that certain areas of the brain, such as the cerebral cortex, are responsible for consciousness. In 2019, scientists took gut bacteria from mice that displayed symptoms of depression and transplanted them into normal mice without depression, and discovered that these mice quickly developed depression, suggesting that even the bacteria flourishing in our intestines are responsible for playing a role in our consciousness, or at least its perception. Science seems to hold the notion that the mind and the brain are the same thing. If this is true, then I'd like to take this even a step further. If there is some kind of complex recipe for believing in God, or angels, or in fairy tales, then those specific combinations of neurotransmitters, physical stimuli, hormones, brain activity, gut flora, and anything else that enters the equation now has a tangible basis in reality. Now those thoughts can be quantifiably and physically experienced. Given our prior definition of reality, which most people readily accept, then this means that our consciousness, being now perceptible, is more real than even money or mathematics. This means that if we think it, It must be real, because it exists within the confines in which we allow it to exist. It is like a compound with distinct physical and chemical properties that can be modified, altered, or molded just like plastic and steel. Consider, for example, the way in which a character might manifest in real life from inside someone's consciousness. An imaginative person has of his own accord a vision, dream, or fright of an entity. This entity is then etched out onto a piece of paper by its host in an effort to visually express his thoughts and feelings. This drawing of a being that was at once supernatural, that existed only in the thoughts, which we have now proved to have a physical grounding, now has a body. This physical form is in the form of his drawing. This drawing then can go on to inspire a filmmaker, or artist, or musician to perpetuate the knowledge of this entity. This entity will then equally influence other people through these works. Sounds far-fetched, doesn't it? Well, consider then that the human senses are only able to meaningfully interpret a narrow range of natural stimuli. The average adult can hear between 20 Hz and 20,000 Hz, and the human eye can only see wavelengths of a mere 380 to 740 nanometers. There are indeed colors, shapes, sensations, smells and sounds we are simply blind to. Massive portions of reality that are beyond our fathoming. As a result, much of the time we are forced merely to witness the effects of something we cannot perceive directly. We must perceive it indirectly. While the notions of demons, angels, and other spirits might well be fanciful, consider the effects that video games have upon the human psychology. The role that video games play in influencing such atrocities is a subject of great contention. Let us consider, for example, that tobacco companies are prohibited from marketing towards children using cartoons or fun flavors. The Master Settlement Agreement was passed in 1988. Even though watching a cartoon character smoking doesn't instantly cause children to seek out cigarettes like mindless zombies, because exposing children to positive imagery associated with tobacco use has been shown to correlate positively with tobacco use in adulthood. If companies are willing to invest money into marketing towards children with cartoon characters, then they surely believe that it will increase the likelihood of those children bringing them a return on their investment in the later years. Would this also not apply to alcohol, violence, pornography, drug use, and criminal activity that is glorified in video games and other media? The Herculean labors marketing corporations undertake to control the shape of our mind might suggest that our consciousness is only under our control only for mere seconds, and even then portions of it are only rented for a brief period of time,